33 minutes after 6, time now for the AM News. Did I say AM News?
AM
okay,
News.
Online news. We need to do some news on the online portals
and the newspapers, as well.
obviously. But, well, my pick for the morning, obviously, has to do with that very story on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Really
and it's been making rounds everywhere. And University of Ghana, my very own University of Ghana, apparently they made a mistake. But, okay, Poet Laureate storms out of events over wrong spelling of her name. That comes with a picture of Amma Ata Edo. I'm sure you do know her. Very popular, very distinguished. Apparently, the University of Ghana, school she's been a part of for a very long time, spelled her name without a T.
They actually spelled it with a double T.
With a double T instead
yes,
of one T. And she just gets up and says, you know what? That's it. I'm done.
I'm tired.
That's it.
I can't take it any longer.
I can't tolerate this.
But you know, it was actually a program to honor her and a couple of other people who had won an award. There was a competition organized in her name. And I don't know, some have been saying her reaction was over the bar. They thought that she could have handled it properly. But for a woman like this, looking at her background, and for someone who is very peculiar about writing and speech and all that, I'm sure it was really disturbing. And her daughter spoke and says, it's not the first time, and so I think she just had it. This was the last straw that broke the camel's back.
So she walked out?
She walked out. She walked out.
So what's going to happen to the award?
Probably, I don't know, maybe a delegation will go to her house. I don't know how it's going to be done. But
there's also a picture of Dr. Pesa White. He's presenting an award to a recipient. It says 92 national service personnel honored. Okay. This time, no bank, right? Anyway, mentally ill man beheads mom. That's a very sad story there. Yes. I think I have to bring you details of that. And then woman, granddaughter crushed to death. Those two stories are on page 3 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let me try and read a bit of that to you. It says a mentally ill man beheads mom. It says a 29-year-old mentally challenged person, Baba Yara, on Saturday beheaded his mother at Tepa, Tepa Esushai in the Bunahafo region. The suspect dismembered the limbs of the woman known as Mame Salah. The gory incident followed a misunderstanding between the suspect and his mother. Yara was arrested upon an alarm raised by residents in the area. The Tepa Police Chief Inspector Edward Kojovi told journalists that the incident was being investigated. But an eyewitness, Kofi Edusei, said the suspect decapitated his mother when she tried disarming him of a knife he wielded, adding that, quote, he cut her 2 hands and the 2 legs like he was slaughtering an animal.
It's really disturbing news. And this is not the first time we are hearing this year. We've had a lot of these stories coming up.
There was one story from the eastern region where a mentally challenged person, again, butchered someone, prepared the meat and
ate it in the bush.
Ate it with kinky.
This is really disturbing. I think that we need to do something about it. It's not the first, it's not the second. How to keep these people away from...
The bigger issue has to do with how we handle some of these mental cases. And if you go to the mental society or you just visit the psychiatric hospital, for instance, you wonder where as a country we place our priorities, because it's in a deplorable state, terrible state. They do not even have money to feed these inmates. They do not even have the needed logistics and the medicine and all for these inmates. So sometimes they are forced to let some of them go, particularly when they show some signs of recovery. They say, you know what, it's okay, go home. So if they go home and some of these things happen, who do you blame?
And I think that sometimes we also have to focus on helping people who live with these persons on how to handle them. Indeed. So probably if she had seen him with a knife, maybe this is what to do, don't go close, seek professional help or something, because the stories are too gory, too terrible.
Pretty sad one there anyway, but so that's a very story. Maybe on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, you see a picture of Ajimambedu and Tete. Oh, that gentleman who scored the goal for us anyway. They are celebrating Ghana's goal, and Ghana-Rwanda draw. That's the caption on the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. I watched the match. It was I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe the first half was okay or something, but the second half rather drab. I don't know. Horse racing, Lawoyo shows class, and Bechem wins FA Cup. Those are the stories on the front and back pages of the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Okay, so let's do the Daily Graphic now. And this says some women, shows a photo of some women clearing the debris at the Lighthouse Fish Markets near Usher Fort at Jamestown, Accra. We brought you that story. Tidal waves destroy coastal Accra and Fuveme and other places in the Volta region. Ghana Police graduate recruitment advertisement inside. We told you about that. The graduate recruitment advertisement is inside the Daily Graphic, today's edition. And where are the manifestos? That's a question. 3 months to elections. The public wants to know. Do you feel that you're being taken for granted? Do you feel that you want to know? Send us a message. What do you think about it? It's 3 months to the elections, and the major parties do not have their manifestos out. And Ghana makes headway with IMF program. It comes with a photo of Mr. Seth Terkper.
You know, with that very issue of the manifestos, we've asked that question on the AM show before, and we heard all sorts of things from these political players, obviously. The MPP saying that, well, they are holding on to it, but they are doling the issues out one after the other, like one dam, one village, or what are some of the things? It's one something. I forgot. There are quite a number of them anyway.
One constituency, $1 million.
Okay, and a few others. So, but they are holding on to the document itself, even though they are churning out some of its content. For the NDC, the information I have now suggests that they'll be outdrawing the manifesto in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time.
I think on the 17th of September.
We're just hoping that this time round there's no other postponement, because the last time we had, it was supposed to have happened 2 weeks after their campaign launch. But then along the line, they come out and say, you know what, we never give a timeline. So now they're giving us a timeline. They're saying in 2 weeks.
But usually these manifestos are quite bulky, and I'm thinking if the time will give people enough time to actually study and make informed decisions.
The question, however, is the electorate. Are they even bothered or concerned about the content of the manifesto?
Exactly.
It's mostly about the promises, the things. People generally are poor here in Ghana, generally. So it's about a few things they can get access to. So if you're promising me A or B or C, and I think I'll benefit immediately, why not?
All right, let's go back. And on the front page as well of the Daily Graphic, 15 national service persons to study abroad on SUBA ticket. SUBA is given some scholarships over there. And let's check the center spread of the Daily Graphic. Now, Agotime celebrates Agbemevoza, a festival of the royal fabric kente. Now, this is beautiful, rich in color, and I'm so impressed when we display our culture in this beautiful manner.
What was the festival again?
Agbemevoza. I hope I got it right. On the back page, that story stars draw with Rwanda and Bechem United win MTN FA Cup. I know that you may want to read the story on where the manifestos are. 3 months to the elections. The public wants to know. It's a long one, and so you could just get it for yourself. It's quite a bulky one this morning, bulkier than usual.
It's Daily Graphic.
It's a Monday morning.
92 days to elections. Well, they say 93, but it's actually 92. So we'll see how it goes. Daily Guide, front page. Moderator rejects Peace Council posts, and it comes with a picture of a Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, and the whole of last week, I think he was the most popular person in Ghana, the whole of last week anyway. And he said he rejected the Peace Council post. I don't know whether you've seen that story, but it's a story that seeks to suggest that, well, he was offered the position to chair the National Peace Council. He said, no, I do not want it.
Why did he reject it? Did he give any reasons?
I'm not sure, but he says he doesn't want it. Speaker OK's Union for Parliamentary Staff, and that story brought us a short while ago. SUBA scholarship for 15 national service persons is also here. And the big one, Nana has no cancer. Doctor breaks silence. And if you did watch or listen to Newsfile over the weekend, I'm sure you did hear a lot more on this very issue. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's personal doctor suggesting that, well, he does not have cancer. And that was in reaction to that report by the Africa Watch magazine suggesting that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the MPP flag bearer, was suffering from cancer and a few other ailments that suggested he was probably not fit enough to lead the country. Let me bring you a bit of that story. Nana has no cancer. It says, the personal doctor of presidential candidate of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has denied reports he has cancer. Quote, he doesn't have any cancer. Anybody with that kind of cancer will not be able to run around as he's doing, Professor Yaw Edudjemfi stated emphatically in a radio interview over the weekend. Now, the Africa Watch magazine, owned and edited by Raymond Opoku, who writes under the pen name Steve Mallory, had reported in its August edition that the main opposition leader who has been vigorously campaigning across the country to canvass for votes was sick with acute cancer, heart and kidney problems. Okay, so that's the story there. But Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's lawyer, doctor, out there now saying that, well, he does not have any cancer. And yesterday, 12 a.m., I was checking a few things, and I saw a Facebook Live post on his page. He was campaigning midnight, 12 a.m. You know, and I believe it's because, you know, he's on a 2-day tour of the Upper West region. He was wrapping it up last night, I believe. So I think he just needed to mop up and just get his message across to the many people who had thronged the premises to listen to him, and it was something. 12 a.m.
Now, talking about the Facebook Live, he's actually been doing a lot of that, and it looks like this year, the politicians are trying to use social media. I don't know if you saw the president's video, the 1 million hits on Facebook, saying thank you to all the people who have liked his page.
He says he's become a better person because of some of the comments
he's seen on Facebook. Quite an interesting dimension, especially in our politics here in Ghana, bringing social media to play and bridging the gap between the president and the people. It's quite an interesting one.
I think for these very elections, I'm very much impressed with how the political parties, at least the two main political parties are using social media as to, well, they are using, I believe, I do not know whether that's the case, but I believe they are using that to complement their efforts on the ground, because social media alone, we know, cannot do the trick. For the many others who do not have access to internet facilities or even a smartphone, getting access to some of these messages you put on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anywhere else becomes a problem. So unless, of course, whatever it is they are doing on social media is complementing the boot work, then well, they might still be in for trouble. But to the BNFT now, the Business and Financial Times, it says UK targets record high trade with Ghana by 2020. Okay, and the National Service Personnel bag $750,000 US dollar prize. Okay, and then $1.5 billion Tema Port project sparks local content concerns. Okay. So those are the stories on the front page of the Business and Financial Times. Also, Mwabija Rural Bank upgrades electronic platforms for further growth. And the Royal Bank wins 4 major awards at Banking Awards. Okay. I think the story is pretty old. I don't know why.
Probably a different banking awards. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So those are the stories on the front and back pages of the Business and Financial Times.
On the front page of the Finder, ECG deals 6 shortlisted for concession despite workers' stiff opposition. Now, we know that there was some form of strike and the workers were not at their normal or regular post. You can send us a message. How were you affected? Did you run out of prepaid credit? Did you have to pay, anything so you could get electricity supply and you couldn't? And tell us your frustration. I
saw Jojo Kobna on Facebook. Exactly. He was ranting. He was ranting. Apparently, he's been out of town for some time, even though he says he had substantial credit on his meter before leaving town. I think he's been out for about 2 weeks or so. He returns and he doesn't have credit. Okay, that's the first point. Second point, he has money. He says, you know what, he sends someone, go get me credit. And they go, and whoever he sends is told, we are on strike, so we are not selling credit.
Yes.
And he's had to sleep in darkness over the weekend, from Friday up until now.
That must be really frustrating. Yeah. If you have such an experience, just let us know what you think about it and how you think a government can address this particular issue. Your opinions are really welcome. And also, Ghana, Rosatom in talks over nuclear program. BEC results to be released from September 12 and 60 solar energy generating companies to be licensed. Let's go to the back page and, well, it's actually an advertisement. Let's check what's on the center spread of the Finder newspaper. And also an advertisement as well. So that's it for the Finder newspaper.
Okay, the Daily Dispatch. How Mahama Ford gift popped up at a funeral service. Okay, sometimes these headlines are very captivating, you know. So it says how Mahama Ford gift popped up at a funeral service, and Africa's fragile democracies, and VIP will not apologize. That's coming from Jenny Boateng there. Let me bring you a bit of that story. It's on page 2. It says how Mahama Ford gift popped up at a funeral service. It says, okay, there was a student who, before his examination, had memorized a write-up on sea trip. When asked what he would do if the exam question was on an air trip, he paused for a while and answered, quote, well, I would write that the plane took off, it developed a fault, fell into the sea, and we were rescued by a ship. Therefore, what is sea trip? Okay. Now, this was what a retired bishop of the Methodist Church, Right Reverend William Abeyeku Blankson, did at the funeral service for Emmanuel Benjamin Efson Sr., that's father of the editor of this paper, Ben Efson, last Friday. The service, which was held at the Ray Church in Accra, was attended by a cross-section of Ghanaians. Reverend Blankson started by advising journalists to stop being antagonistic towards the clergy, obviously referring the recent media attacks on the retired moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. He then asked journalists present to stand up, and only a few of the many there stood up, cautioning that the comments he was about to make were his personal views, not that of the Methodist Church. And then he says he opened fire. Obieja. He opened fire. And it says below his story, it says a retired bishop of the Methodist Church, Abeyeku Blankson, has condemned the Speaker of Parliament, Dua Jaho's dismissal of a motion filed by the minority in Parliament to have the House investigate President John Dramani Mahama for any wrongdoing in his receipt of a Ford vehicle gifts from a Burkinabe contractor. Reverend Blankson said the Speaker did a great disservice to the state by failing to allow lawmakers to debate the quashed motion. Okay, it's just a preamble to the story that amuses me. It says the student studied for one question, and then he was asked, so what if you go there and this question doesn't pop up? And then he finds a nice way, goes around it and says, well, I'll still find a nice way and chip this in. So in essence, that's what the Daily Dispatch is reporting, that this man, even though he was at a funeral service, had to find a nice way of bringing that very issue in there. Interesting though, but yeah, that's the story on the front page. I forgot to do the back page, and it comes with some photographs of Ben Efson and a few other. Okay, so it has to do with Ben Efson's father's funeral. Okay, so you can see Bolare, Ben Efson himself, and two others, Dua Jaho and Yao Donko, Dr. Kobna before as well in the picture over there. Okay.
All right, let's do the public agenda now. PPP has best plans for meeting SDG commitment, ISODEX analysis shows, right? And Wakam questions potency of Ghana's mining law. And on the back page, Ghana FA Sports Ministry empowers may weigh down 2018 World Cup chances, and PPP has best plans for meeting SDG commitments, and that's continued from page 3. It's an ISODEC analysis, and Adoma explains sensational championship U-turn. A lot of people have been criticizing him for his new move, saying that he had moved. Yes, from
why fight so hard to get a team into Premiership, and then you say, you know what, I want to go back to the Division 2 or Division 1.
Well, he's explained why, and
is it because of the money?
Well, he says, let me pick up the story up. He says the new Aston Villa acquisition, Albert Adoma, has shed light on his unexpected return to the English Championship. The Ghanaian had spent his playing career in the lower divisions before helping Middlesbrough secure top-flight promotion in May. However, after just 2 appearances in the Premier League, the 28-year-old made a stunning return to the Championship, signing a 4-year deal with Villa on Wednesday. Now, quote, "I'm very pleased to sign," Adoma told AVTV. Quote, "I was like a child. I couldn't sleep the nights before I joined." And well, he says that he's so happy to be there, and he met the chief executive, and they speak highly of an ongoing project to build the team and take the team forward. And he says, "I played against Villa in pre-season. Straight away when we walked in, I thought Villa is a massive club. It's one of the best pitches I've seen. It's like carpet." And
so those are his reasons.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Those are his reasons.
Wow.
And probably he thinks that just like he helped
so he can help them again.
Yeah, you know, he's into the business
of the Ajinkwa of struggling teams in the Premiership. Let's do some online news now, and onto myjohnonline.com. Meet the pride of Nissan, the new GTR Bond Bad. Okay, it's a pretty nice car there, but as to how many Ghanaians in the middle class can afford this, that'll be another issue. Let's go to the second story there. It says researchers discovered drug for sleeping sickness. And do you ever suffer from insomnia?
No.
Dennis? You don't?
No. Do you?
It depends.
Wow.
Depends.
That's not good news.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe I work a lot too. Andrea, are you touched by Stars Get Well Soon message? And I'm sure you did hear.
Did you see that?
Well,
yeah.
No comment. I don't want to comment on this very one. What chiefs confer Chief of Patience title on Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo? So is it that
Chief of Patience?
Yeah, or what?
What he's had he's had the patience for what? To do
this
what?
This is the third time he's contesting. But if that was the basis, though, I think the PNC's Edward Nasigri Mahama should be the one getting this title, if indeed this is the basis. He's contested 3 times already. And Mahama urges Cape Coast residents to identify cause of dwindling fortunes of education. And we know now that the president is also in the Central Region campaign. He's starting today, we are told. It's a 5-day tour of that region. Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo just wrapped up his tour of the Upper West region. Those are the things going around here in Ghana. The PPP is also campaigning. Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndombe is doing a lot of campaigning, introducing a lot of people who will be contesting on his ticket, on his party's ticket, in the upcoming parliamentary elections. Ford gives debate. Bagbin Mensah Bonsu square off. He says after they were denied the opportunity for a feisty debate on the floor, the majority and minority leaders of parliament found a neutral platform to slag out the controversial Ford gift saga. Interesting though. If you want details, visit myjohnonline.com. You can read the stories there. Last Hajj flight to take off Sunday, failed pilgrims to receive refunds. Okay, now the update we have now is that it was supposed to be this dawn, and the information now suggests that they probably are already in the air. We'll be trying to get an update on that situation for you right here on the AM show. There's a photo story also on my John Line. It says gospel legend Danny Net is sent off with a microphone. Which better way to send him off?
You know, traditionally they do that a lot to send you off with something you're familiar with. And for him, that was a microphone. And on CTFM Online, Nana Addo decorated with Chief of Patience title, and Mahama begins campaign in Central Region today, and a dismissal of motion to probe Mahama shameful, and that according to Occupy Ghana. And Occupy Ghana again to wage war in Galamsey. There's a lot of stories there, and the general news and different opinions.
I'm seeing, anytime I see these political stories, I try to relate it to what we see elsewhere. Now, with the race in the US, it's getting keener. Even though Hillary Clinton is leading by, I think, a 7 or 8% margin, you know, this issue of her leaked emails.
Yes.
It's still causing a lot of trend. And there was a poll that was conducted, I think, last week or so. And for the poll, many of the people who spoke, well, the 2 people have their core constituencies. A lot more people who they need to add on to their numbers are those who are in the dilemma now. Now, they say they are torn between the devil and the deep blue sea. This is the thing. They are torn between candidates they do not necessarily want, but they have no choice than to vote for one of them. For Donald Trump, they think, well, he's been an extremist, and some say he will likely be someone who may not tolerate people who are not Americans. He had an issue with blacks. Over the weekend, he went to a black church, a black congregation. He went to worship with them.
He went to dance. He tried to dance so that, and you know, he was in Mexico some days before that. I think he's trying to patch up and trying to correct some of his extreme positions. For many, according
to the poll I'm speaking of, for many, that is enough reason to get them to begin to consider this man as probably the right choice. For Hillary, the emails seem to be doing her a lot more disservice. So even though Hillary is still leading, it appears Donald Trump is catching up.
Let's see how it goes. Interesting moments in the U.S. I mean, and they've said these are not the best candidates they've had to choose from ever.
Do we have the best candidates in Ghana?
You want my opinion?
Time for sports.
Okay.
Benedict Owusu and the entire sports team, they are ready. They'll be bringing us some sports in a jiffy. But remember, you're still watching the AM show. If you need to get interactive with us, the WhatsApp number is 0560 800,000, 0560 800,000. But let's do some sports now.